This is Mouth Media Network, the business of being heard.
It's probably pretty telling that there aren't any action figures of podcasters. Or comedians. Just saying. This is Funny People Talking.
Hi, I'm Debra DiGiovanni, a stand-up comedian from Toronto, Canada, and I would rather be exercising outdoors than listening to funny people talking.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Funny People Talking. I'm Mark Rako, and I am so excited. I'm staring right into the peepers of Dresden Angle. Hey, Dresden, how are you?
Hey, Mark.
Look at your peepers. You just took your glasses off so you get a clearer look at your blue. Are you bright blue peepers, right?
They're blue, but if I were green, they're green. God gave me one good feature to make up for the size of my arse.
Oh, no, my grandmother actually had violet eyes like Liz Taylor.
Like Liz Taylor.
Yep.
Cool.
Also, gracing our recording is our good friend and our producer, Elsie. Hi, Elsie.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Elsie,
Okay.
we're gonna laugh today.
Okay, that's good.
Elsie.
I'm sorry, Elsie. I'm sorry. Laughing with you. I'm laughing with you.
So there's normal Elsie. There's a little bit of the extra emotion Elsie, like we had recently with Jen Cody with the Oscar-winning moment, and then there's what I believe to be bad mood Elsie today. I sense Elsie may not be having the best of days. Are you doing okay, Elsie?
To be determined. I mean, it's November.
She'll
4th.
let us know in 7 electoral votes.
Oh, this is Trump related in a way.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. So full disclosure to our audience, this is being recorded precisely at the moment that we are in a razor-thin race to 270 electoral votes in America. Oh, my God. It is so close right now. We don't know, and today has been a stressful day for many people in America, for sure. And we literally at this moment do not know what that outcome is. So when you hear this, there may be some results to that possibly. So we'll see. But just know if this show is extra weird, that is why. Anyway, speaking of extra weird, no, I'm just kidding. It is our guest, and she's not extra weird.
Speaking of envy for people from Canada.
Yes, exactly. She is Canadian, as you heard. Yeah. But seriously, all kidding aside, we could not be more thrilled she is with us, and I shall explain why. It is stand-up comedian and just super nice person, Debra DiGiovanni. Welcome to the show.
Yay! Finally.
So one of the reasons we're super excited is, again, full disclosure, I believe this may be our third attempt at this because we had technical issues due to COVID. Debra was a bit sequestered and quarantined in a place that had a Airbnb, if I remember correctly, in a place that had horrific Wi-Fi.
A dungeon. I was in a dungeon, pretty much. Right.
Can I segue to a question for her since she said dungeon?
Yes. But before you do, I just need to point out the fact she's in a dungeon. I doubt it was because someone tackled her, threw her in a car, and threw her in a dungeon. She had chosen to be in the dungeon.
This was my own doing.
It was her vacation.
That's right. Anyway, go ahead.
But speaking of dungeon, there's a meme that goes around that makes me laugh every time I see it. And so I have to ask my Canadian friend. Right now, America probably appears to Canada as if they are living in an apartment over a meth lab.
I just saw that the other day.
Is that hilarious?
Yeah. And,
let me ask, do the Canadians feel like they're living in an apartment above a meth lab?
I think yes, right now. And I mean, honestly, and not even like a nice meth lab, like a, you know what I mean? Like a low rent.
Like a nice meth lab where there's some teeth.
Would they give you a lollipop?
Like a handful of teeth. But this is, it's so funny about that too, because it's like, I feel like for so long, we were always like the little brother that you were embarrassed of. You know what I mean? Like, bring your little brother Conan. No. And now tables have turned. Now it's like marriage proposal. Sneak in and something with the prom queen.
Wow.
And it only took a maniac to
Mark, I know we didn't even officially kick off the show yet, but she said dungeon. She went to dungeon. I had to go to attic and meth lab.
Beautiful. Done and done. That's all we need. Show's over, everybody. That's all we needed right there. By the way, speaking of good memes, by the way, I saw someone sent around, which had to do again with the election and what it kind of felt like yesterday. It said yesterday felt like Christmas Eve, except you don't know if Santa's going to come down the chimney and give you presents or shoot your family.
I saw that too. We're on the same thing. Yeah. Oh God.
So anyway,
I saw something online that I thought was kind of funny. It said, remember to put your I voted sticker under your pillow tonight so the election fairy can leave you a Xanax.
Very, very good. All right, we have a great show coming up. As if you can't tell, we're going to have another round of a Dresden moment where she tells about one of her adventures with a celebrity. We have a brand new segment with Elsie called Headlines with Elsie. I will explain. And of course, our salute to Tina Fey and an improv game that we've never played before. And I will give you a hint. Get to the chopper. If you know what that means, who knows? But I bet Elsie knows. And of course, all about Debra DiGiovanni. Oh my God, it's going to be so much fun. She has so much to share, so much insight about comedy and her journey. That's all coming up right after this. But first, really, really quickly, Dresden, I have a question for you.
Oh, yeah.
You have boxing gloves on. And interestingly, not only boxing gloves, but you actually have one of those, big like title belts slung over your shoulder, like when you win like a heavyweight champion or whatever. And on top of that, you happen to be sporting a few bruises here and there on your face. I am so intrigued, and I can't wait to hear all about it.
Well, let's see. I, of course, am always trying to be as physically fit as possible. And I was, couldn't get my nails done. So I thought, you know what? Actually, I have nothing. Let me think.
Okay.
I'm just going to go with this. I'm going to go with the first one I came up with. Anyway, Mark, I'm glad you.
Well, I thought maybe, what's funny? After I said that, it occurred to me that maybe, and I didn't set you up with this, by the way, but it occurred to me we did have a Canadian on the show, so maybe you were anticipating Boxing Day. I don't know, but that was not, I wasn't going there with that, but that was where I went. Anyway, it just fell in my lap. Anyway.
All right, I'll start over.
It's okay. We can. Why don't you just tell me to start the show?
So I'm not going to go with that one.
Oh,
what I was going to say was that they gave me an award because I actually walked up those stairs Rocky runs up.
Okay,
anyway,
go ahead.
Hey Mark, start the show.
From the Mouth Media Network studios in New York City, this is Funny People Talking with Mark Rako, Dresden Engel, and Elsie.
Everybody, we're so glad you're here with us on Funny People Talking. Of course, we have Debra DiGiovanni with us. Oh, yay. Before we get started, a quick piece of housekeeping. Just so you know, Debra, we our single wish, other than having Debra DiGiovanni on the show, is to have Tina Fey play some role interacting with the show. There are reasons behind it I won't get into, but some close calls, and we're like, we just got to close the circle with her. Every single episode of this show, we pray to the comedy gods very actively in hopes that by putting out to the universe some way, somehow, Tina Fey will do a drive-by. She'll say hi. She'll come on the show. She'll send us a postcard. It doesn't matter. She'll order a pizza for us. I don't care. Just so we know she was thinking about us in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to say a quick prayer to the comedy gods. You can listen or you may join in. It's all up to you. Oh, she did the sign of the cross. Thank you. So I'll lead it off. Oh, Tina Fey and comedy gods, please. Oh, please deliver us the equivalent of 270 comedic electoral votes. We love you so much. Please be on the show.
We're groveling.
So thanks.
Men.
Thank you. God bless us, everyone. All right, so.
Wait, Deborah, is she in your phone?
Just German.
Do you know her? Is she in your phone?
I don't even have a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon with her. I have nobody. I have no way.
All right. I had to ask.
Thanks. Hey,
Thank you, sweetie.
Damn it. I was so sure we were going to get with Deborah. Why do we even have her on the show if she can't connect us with Tina?
I'm thinking about it.
No, anyway.
3 degrees too high. Oh.
All right, let's move on, shall we? It is what a perfect moment in time for.
And now it's time for Dresden Moments.
A Dresden moment. Miss Dresden Engel. Mrs. Dresden Engel.
Thank you. So I was thinking about our country right now. It's a little divided. It's 50-50. And it made me think of, a civil war, which we don't want anything like that to happen.
God.
And it made me think of an April Fool's joke that I did back in the day when I was working at a museum. And I got permission from the board of directors to write a blog. I called Ken Burns, the filmmaker, with whom I had some interactions because of my job at this particular museum. And I said, would you play along with my joke? And he said, yes. So my blog goes out on April Fool's Day. And my blog, it looks so real. It looks so great. It talked about how the museum had just uncovered the oldest existing Civil War film in history. And Ken Burns was making his trek from Boston immediately. He let me quote him saying this, to investigate. And then it was like, click here to see a digitized version of this film. And when you clicked, it said, wah, wah, wah. Motion picture film was not invented until 1894. However, however, you are not alone in not knowing the date it began. And, please know we do blah, 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 preserve the films. And, Ken Burns' collection is here as well. And we take good care of his films, including the Civil War documentary. Okay, so I got in a little bit of trouble because, the Boston Globe ran it. AP picked it up.
Oh, no. Sometimes success bites you in the ass.
A local reporter went on air, stared at the camera, and said, I would just like to tell everyone that April Fool's jokes he just said, I don't agree with them. The media they're too busy to. Luckily, people have forgiven me over the years, but.
Oh my goodness, really?
It was kind of fun.
That's the best. I love that. Oops. That's great. What a great story. Ha ha.
So I just figured a little April Fool's joke in honor of our esteemed comedian. I won't say comedian because it's too sexist. And here we are. But no, we're not going to have a civil war. We're all going to kumbaya. It's going to be a beautiful thing.
Although I do want to say, why does comedian have to be the go-to where we go to the man term as opposed to comedian? Why can't everyone be a comedian?
Yeah, so it's not even really just the man term. It's just the term, right?
Well, I guess.
Actresses don't want to be called actresses anymore unless they're getting an Oscar.
It's just an actor.
Yeah. I mean, Deborah, could you tell us? I don't like to be called, I do sketch. I don't like to be called comedian. Do you have any thoughts? Maybe I'm being a little old feminist.
Well, that's the thing. It is, obviously, it's just the modern version now is just comedian. But I think there's something, instead of I don't know, lightens it. Do you know what I mean? Like it feels like comedian light,
like lesser.
comedian lesser. It just does, right? It just does. You know, there's no like doctorette. You know, it's just doctor. So it's like let it just be. You know what I mean? It's just. Yeah, there's always been something like I don't think I've ever referred myself as a comedian. You know, it just doesn't. Like, that would be something like my parents, my mother would have done. You know.
But have you been introduced like that?
Oh sure. Not for, I don't feel like for a long time. I think it's probably been at least a decade since that's happened. But definitely in my life, that's happened for sure.
Yeah, and you know, most people don't mean anything by it.
No,
but it's just it doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, it's just one of those. It's just unnecessary. It's unnecessary. I think it just, you know, forces more of a divide, you know, and then it's like it's just unnecessary. Yeah.
You know, it's so interesting. It gets into the area of when does it become pretentious to clarify your identity as you see it, just because of the
Mark,
innocent faux pas of someone else. The same way, by the way, maybe it's not literally the same thing, or maybe it is, but, you know, clarifying I prefer to go by, you know, him, his, her, she,
but
and
you know
all
what
that.
You just did? You just made me think of the election again.
Did I?
Well, yeah, that's what we're fighting for.
Right. So sorry about that. I can't.
No. I'm just saying, right? Those are the little things that we're all scared.
So basically, I could say
the
Tuna
progress we've made.
I'd say Tuna. You would think of cats, realize they don't have voting rights. There you go. Back to the election. No. That got.
I would start singing "Memory of the Last Time we had someone else in the White House."
Oh right. Oh God. Or the last time Mark said a joke that hit all of the people on the show at the same time. So I got
we have goals for this hour.
Yeah.
Goals.
Anyway, so interesting because I was thinking, like, you know, if you just to finish the thought, if you clarify, using you as an example, Deborah, and say, actually, I prefer comedian, I prefer comedian if you don't mind. Someone's going to look at you and go, what difference does it make? Why did you have to make a thing out of it? Now you embarrass me. But when you are just, what's wrong with asserting your identity? Because if they called you Gilda instead of, well, Gilda is maybe a compliment, but you know what I mean. If they called you Diane instead of Deborah, you might say, I'm so sorry, it's Deborah, right? But you wouldn't just go, oh, well, I'm not smart enough to assert my identity.
Also, like, you know, a train of thought that it's like, at this point, we don't even, you know, want to be called, you know, female comedians. We just want to be called comedians. You know what I mean? Like, it's
my God,
right?
Right?
It always has to be female comedians. And it's like, okay, you know, it's just, you know, again, like it's a lot of you don't say female lawyer. So it's like, why do you need to say female comedian? You know, it's very strange. Very strange because it's like, and it does seem to be like there's only few, like, you know, areas of, you know, work that's where they do it. Do you know what I mean? It's like
the all-female band, the Go-Go's.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it is. It's interesting.
How could they all know how to play an instrument? They're female, right? So you have to say it's a female band. Like somehow, how did that happen?
It's ridiculous. So yeah. So no comedian.
Similarly, when we're on a plane, why do we refer to them as flight attendant? Why aren't they just attendants? We're obviously all on a plane. But we refer to them as flight attendants.
Fair.
Because that word replaced. No, because that word replaced stewardess.
It did. No. Yeah. But I do feel like more people call it just attendants though now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Rather than flight
attendants. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for that Dresden moment that somehow catapulted us into a conversation about gender roles and professions, which is awesome. We're moving on now to our next part of the show, which is a brand new segment called Headlines from Elsie. Ooh. Now, one of the things that I know about Elsie is she reads so much news out there and so good at it. She can often have a really good idea of what an article is about just from even reading the headline. Like I could tell her headline and she would know exactly what the article is about without even having read it. And I just thought maybe if you don't mind, Elsie, maybe we could just demonstrate this. I'd like to throw a few headlines to you, and maybe you could just take your best shot at what you believe the content of the article is. Can we give that a shot?
Yeah.
She loves bacon, she's cantankerous, and her cat's an adjustment. She's the producer, it's Elsie.
All right, so now these are actually some of the top headlines from a category that I found in a search on the internet. So the first one is, the headline of this article is Amphibious Pitcher Makes Debut. Amphibious Pitcher makes debut. Please, Elsie, tell us what this article was all about.
There's a species that is now known to make itself, shown to mankind, that it surfaces above the water and it pitches. It's like those fish that come up and spit water, but these fish come up and they pitch balls of seaweed and empty shells and what have you, and that's the way they defend themselves against predators. But because they've evolved so much, they've now come from the depths of the sea, and they're making themselves known, and now we see them too. So they realize that the predators aren't just underwater; they're above the water too.
That is fantastic. That is exactly right. That is from a National Geographic article. The next headline is Cows Lose Their Jobs as Milk Prices Drop. That was a very interesting article. What was that about?
Yeah, there's so many lactose intolerant people, or people that just don't want to have that. So there's like almond milk and oatmeal milk and soy milk and coconut milk and all those kinds of things. So all these plant-based milks are putting these cows out of work.
That is exactly right. That is from Business Today. The next headline is Man Accused of Killing Lawyer Receives a New Attorney. That was an interesting article. What was that all about?
The verb
received. If his attorney is dead, he's not going to be very good representation. So he's got to get a new one. And good luck to that one, because, if you see that your predecessor was killed by the clients, and I would say this is a perfect opportunity for a Zoom meeting.
Very good. And last but not least, state population. This is a real headline. State population to double by 2040. Babies to blame.
Well, you've got the pandemic. People are staying at home. Some people aren't that bright, so they're not planning ahead, knowing, I don't have a job. I got no income. Let's do it. Let's do the dirty. So they're getting themselves into a precarious situation. So it's, the old adage, babies having babies.
Oh, there you go. All right. Yeah. Well, that is headlines with.
And now I'm going to tell you. My fun fact.
Okay, go ahead. Fun fact.
So I want something light and fun, since So today's National Candy Day, and I don't know if you know this fun fact, but India was where candy came from, because it was this sugar cane thing that they melted down, and it became that hard syrup and what have you, and it was KHANDA, and it made its way around the world, and we finally got it here in the U.S. in the 1800s.
OMG.
So that's So National Candy Day is today, and the way you can celebrate it is eat candy, give some candy, try some new candy, but just make it about candy.
So what's the candy you are indulging in today, Elsie?
Well, I don't know who surveyed where, but they say that M&M's and Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are the #1 sellers of the U.S. So I'm going for chocolate. I mean, I always go for chocolate. That's where I go. But yeah, so try some new candy, or maybe, give some candy to somebody.
Interesting that National Candy Day is 4 days after Halloween.
You think that's a coincidence? Yeah.
Interesting.
No, you got to take care of those reserves in some way,
It should be 50% off Candy Day.
Oh, well.
For me, anyway.
There are also some places right now having 75% off.
Oh,
so
man.
Get some good deals.
Oh, I've got to go to CVS for that foot cream. Wink, nudge, Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah.
Deborah, what is your favorite? Do you enjoy candy? And if so, what's your favorite?
See, I don't, this is going to be the divide, because in Canada, I think of candy as just not chocolate based stuff. Like, because we call chocolate bars, and I think you call them candy bars, right? Like, but that's so in our mind, it's a very different thing. So like a candy would be like hard, it's a hard candy, like something you crunch, or like it's like a fuzzy peach or a gummy, something like that. So I actually
So
don't
if
like
I go
candy.
upstairs,
I like chocolate. Yeah.
So if I climb the stairs from the meth lab to the attic,
Yes.
to talk to my Canadian friends,
You'll
I don't know if meth gives you. I have to ask for a
chocolate.
fuzzy peach.
Exactly, or like maple sugar.
But I think that's more on par with what was invented in India with the sugar cane. It's the hard candy.
Like right? That's what I think. That's what it sounds like. Like hardened sugar and stuff,
Yeah.
Which I mean, please, I wouldn't say no. It's the only thing being offered, I'll take it. But I'm much more of a chocolate girl too.
What about you, Drez? I don't even know what your favorite candy is.
I'm eating a blow pop while we're on the
I was
air.
going to say she's stuck on a lollipop right now. Exactly.
I literally needed it to calm myself down. I don't drink, so I had to need a device because electoral votes.
Does that have a little CBD involved? Or,
Oh, hey, I didn't even think of that. No, laughter is the best medicine.
That's right.
So once we started laughing, I calmed way the heck down. But I am your typical chick that once a month, man, mama needs a candy bar. chocolate. So it's a beautiful thing. It's interesting. Kind of a gross fact, but getting the sugar cane wasn't, easy. So having sugar, only the wealthy. And do you know that Queen Elizabeth I was very, very, very proud of her brown teeth because she had sugar.
Sure, it's a sign of wealth, right? It's a interesting.
What can we define amongst the four of us? What can we define right now as a sign of wealth?
Money.
That I bought these headphones that have little lions on the side for $5 at Five Below in preparation of Debra's interview, because I don't know why I wanted to have them on for Debra's interview. And I ran out of time. So I didn't open them up. So on the next break, I'm going to put my headphones on. So that's my excitement for the day.
Love it.
That's my sign of wealth.
I don't know. I think our sign of wealth is that when we have to decide between one thing or another, geez, do I want a Hershey bar or do I want a blow pop? That's a sign of wealth, I think, to be able to make that distinction.
That's a good
I
point.
know that's deep, but by the way, my favorite candy is a black licorice, but unfortunately I have to be careful because black licorice can cause or can contribute to high blood pressure.
Really?
Actually, yes. And so if you have high blood pressure, which I'll admit that I do, you have to be really careful about eating it. And unfortunately, my favorite one is salted black licorice, which is a double whammy. So
I didn't know
that black licorice is like you're predisposed to like black licorice. It's like a genetic with liquor. Like it's like you either it's not like it's like you'll hate it or you love it. There's no in between. There's no like I could grow it like this. Apparently, it's like in your genes. You either like black licorice or you don't.
That is hilarious.
So I don't know if you pass it on to your kids or what, but I hate black licorice.
I don't.
The amazing facts. Yeah. And Mark, please let me apologize that you had to ask yourself your favorite candy because the three biatches didn't ask you. Hey, Mark.
That's okay. That's okay. And that's our show, everybody. So, Debra, I have to tell you quickly, just because you're from Canada. Speaking of black licorice, when SARS was a big deal, one of the things they found out, I may have said this on the show before. If I did, I apologize, everybody. But they had found that the treatment for SARS or some sort of medicinal had its roots its base in the anise root. And so when I learned about that, I actually was coming up on a trip to the Toronto Fringe Festival where I was performing. And so this was sort of in the thick or tail end of SARS. So I just felt I could rationalize bulk loading on black licorice and black licorice spiced tea for many days before I went. And I don't know, I didn't get SARS, so I feel my rationale was sound.
I accept it.
Anyway, thank you, Elsie, for that. Thank you, Dresden, for Dresden Moment. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we will have an improv game right after this.
I bet you're wondering, who am I? Why am I here? What the hell is Funny People Talking? Exactly. This is Funny People Talking.
And now, an improvisational comedy game.
Okay, we're back, and it is time for our improv game. And today we're going to play one we've never played on Funny People Talking, but we played on Funny People Talking's predecessor show that this is basically a reboot of Monkey Radio with Mark, and it is called What Would Arnold Do? And basically the idea is we put Arnold Schwarzenegger in whatever position we want him to be and see how he adapts. And the key is, how many of Arnold's phrases can you work into that situation? And there is no responsibility to be a great impressionist, but the goal is to just do your best to do your best Arnold as you become Arnold for a few seconds. So if you're all willing to play, this is so much fun. I will certainly demonstrate. So the key is a location and an activity. So I'll give you an example. One time we played this, and the location was an ice cream parlor, and the activity was suddenly an entire league of little league players has walked into the ice cream parlor. So what would Arnold Schwarzenegger do in that situation? So of course he was like, get down off there, or whatever. And I hope that you will give this a try. It's a fun game if we can make it happen. I happen to personally love when Elsie plays this game. So how about Debra, why don't you give me a location, and Elsie, you give me an activity that Arnold would be doing. It could be anywhere and anything.
For location, I'm going to say roller rink.
A roller rink. Okay, great. A roller rink. And the activity, Elsie.
He's driving a Zamboni.
Perfect. Because Zamboni's in a roller rink, of course, but that's even better. Thank you.
He's confused. Yeah.
Okay.
He's confused.
That's right. What am I doing here on the Zamboni in a roller rink? Who put this here? I will drive it out. I would drive it out of the roller rink. I would drive it out, and then I would get down, and I would get out of here, and then get in my chopper. But wait, what's happening? Oh, it's a fire! Fire! Somebody put it out! Give me an extinguisher! Give me an extinguisher on fire! But of course, I'm not on an ice rink, so it won't melt. It's going to catch a roller rink on fire. Somebody get me an extinguisher! Put it out! What is that? Is that a burn? It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor, it's a burn. Anyway, that's Arnold in a roller rink. So that's just my demonstration. Thank you very much. So, Dresden, if you're willing to give this a shot, I understand.
I don't think I will do it any. I'm happy to offer suggestions, but I don't think I'll do it any. I think it'll just be painful. I can't do the accent. I've been to Austria. That's the extent. But I won't do them any justice. So can I just give a suggestion of a place or something like that instead?
Sure. Let's have, how about we have Debra, are you willing to try this?
I'm not good at it either, but let's give it a go. Okay.
I love that you give it a go. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Dres, why don't you give Debra both a place and an activity?
Okay. The place is you're on the set of The Wizard of Oz. I won't limit you. You can Munchkinland Farm, whatever you need.
Okay.
And the activity is you are carrying heavy things to impress Dorothy.
Okay. Oh God, I can't. I'm trying to do the accent.
Channel your inner Austrian.
Dorothy, it's not a tumor. It's a heavy thing that I'm carrying. It's I'll be back.
There we go.
Once I click my heels together. These are terrible. You know what I mean? You get what I'm doing. Oh, I'm doing it.
All right.
Okay.
All right. No,
That was Terminator and Schwarzenegger at the same time.
that's right. Very, very good. Thank you very much. All one and the same.
Oh, no.
One and the same. Thank you very much. Good
Hey,
job.
at least you tried. You were braver than me.
That was great.
Come on, I get participation
So
points.
much. You get
too.
more than that.
You
Thank
do,
you.
you do.
Everybody gets a trophy. And
Yay.
finally, we'll go with Elsie for why not. Deborah, why don't you give Elsie a location and an activity if you want to put her anywhere, do anything.
He's at a bakery, and he's looking for a first aid kit.
Oh, so Arnold is in a bakery.
I love your mind. I love your mind.
What was the last thing you said, Deborah?
And he's at a bakery, and he needs a first aid kit. This is what that's.
All right, Elsie, take it away. What would Arnold do?
Knock, knock. Yes, I see that you are open. I need a first aid kit. What? I thought this establishment, it has bugs. If you see it, if it bleeds, kill it. I need a first aid kit. You have nothing? No, you have it, but you cannot find it. I'll be back.
All right. Thank you.
The impression is worth the whole show.
It's perfect.
Okay.
There's no reference whatsoever to the fact that it was a bakery. I'm just saying.
It felt like a bakery, though.
It
It's a
felt
bakery
it.
with
I could
bugs.
smell it. Yeah, it's
All right.
it's beside the meth lab. It's beside the meth lab.
That's right. We all need a moment to
It's not a neighborhood.
we all need a moment to collect ourselves and dry ourselves off, and when we come back, it'll be a thank you, Elsie. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Dresden. I love What Would Arnold Do? We will be right back, and it will be all about just nothing more than the greatest, and that's Debra DiGiovanni right after this.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Funny People Talking and Elsie at Elsie the Producer.
And please, for the love of all that is holy, subscribe to the show and leave us a damn review and a really, really good rating on iTunes. Pretty please? Thank you.
We are back. Okay, so hey everybody, we are gonna dive right into World of Debra. It's Deborah's World.
So exciting.
So Deborah, we are just again thrilled as punch to have you here. It feels like the payoff has been sweet, being National Candy Day and all that stuff. What I would love to start out and ask you a question, sort of, I don't want to say it's been on my mind, but it seems very natural to ask. Is your comedy so unrelated to where you were born and bred that it doesn't matter that you're Canadian? Anywhere you perform, it just connects? Or is there such a thing as Canadian humor that you need to sort of move past and know that you can connect with Americans or wherever you may be?
This is a very good question, and that is really the first time I've ever been asked it in 20 years of comedy. So
Really?
nice. Honest to God, it's totally true. Now, I'm serious. I'm not kidding. I would say, though,
That's amazing.
thank you, because truly, I do feel like I am, even though my accent will give me away and specific terms will kind of give away my nationality and my ethnicity in on stage, but I don't think my topics are Canadian topics. They just don't. It's just, I keep everything very, and I don't even know if it was like actually conscious thought. That was just, comedy due to comedy. I will say that there is definitely Canadian comedy, like just very specific. You take them out of Canada and it's going to be lost. It'll be crickets, because they won't get it. And it's not even using, saying candy bar and chocolate bar, or saying, about, or it's not, there's almost like sort of an energy. Like if you go east, so anywhere, like if you're talking like Quebec and then East Coast over, it's just a very different sort of sensibility of what they find funny. It's very, it's more, and I mean this truly and not in any way derogatory, it's more clown. It's very physical comedy. It's very sort of like, that, especially when you go East Coast, the neighborhoods, they all like have this sort of like unwritten kind of language that they all speak. And like even someone from Toronto would go, and I don't know what you're talking about. Someone from British Columbia would go into, Nova Scotia and be like, I'm completely lost. So that is, I would say that, so the real sort of Canadiana would come from the East Coast. And I'm telling you, there are comics there that don't leave the East Coast because they don't have to. Quebec comics, same thing. They don't leave Quebec because they don't have to. They can have their entire career just in Quebec, and it's enough. And it's also because it doesn't translate. It really doesn't translate. There is a difference. Like the French have a very different sense of humor than, Anglos. They just do. It's, Paris, France has a very different sense of humor, but it's also the same with Quebecois, with French Canadians. It's a very different sense of humor. It's very jokey. It's much more sketch rather than just, set up and punch kind of thing. But I know comedians. There really are, and like there are comics right now that like, I know that are millionaires and super successful, and people would never have heard of them because they made their entire career in Canada and never had to leave. Never had to leave. And it's a very specific, like I toured with last year with a comedian who is exactly the example of this. His name is Rick Mercer. He's an East Coast comedian. He's worked his whole life in television, and he is like, he's Elvis. Like, I mean, people run up to him in the street, but Americans don't know who he is. No European. It's just in Canada. And it's very specific because his jokes are it's just such Canadiana that it couldn't transfer. If I dropped him, I said, come to LA and do a set, he wouldn't be able to, because it's just so specific. And it's very, am I making myself clear? Does that make sense? Because it just really is. I don't even know how to.
Debra, I mean, would you prefer that to travel and to, be a two country kind of gal? Or
absolutely. Oh, good. And that is, I don't think it's just, Canada. I think it's, it's Europe, and I think it's the world that everyone does want success in the States. They just do. It just, I know it's so weird that we're talking about it on today of all days, the day after the election, as we await our fate. But it's true. It just is, because it's so funny. It's the most international, even though I think a lot of us think of, as Europe is so international. It's just not. It's like America has the most. It's like where everything is made. And I think that's everyone's, it is everyone's goal. And there is a thing too, like, when you leave Canada, everyone is like, oh, you left. Oh, and then there's a little bit of like, oh, look at Debra had to leave Canada. She turned her back. And it's not we turn our backs on us. It's just you want sort of more. There is a ceiling in Canada. There is a glass ceiling in Canada. There really is. I mean, I'm sad to say it, but it's true. Because Canada gets most of its entertainment. It's either, very local, or it's everything from America, So it's they know why. They don't like to admit it,
I learned my lesson the hard way. Just a quick aside, I had the theater beat for a newspaper, and I went up and I was interviewing people in Toronto as well as at the Stratford Festival. And I'm like, and so have you done Broadway? And it was like, I swore, like, no, we have our own talent here.
Stratford. Oh, yes.
No.
Stratford Festival. Oh, yeah.
The fact that I wasn't in the locks and stocks was a big deal. Yeah. So Yes, so be
That's
a
right.
proud Canadian. But
That's
you
right
have come to the
enough,
States, and you've
right.
had fabulous success. I mean, 20
Yes.
years. You started doing stand-up in 2000.
I know, my goodness.
Woo!
Wow.
Incredible.
Feels
And
like
by the
20
way,
minutes.
I did want to point out that I think Theater Beat was for the preppy kids who couldn't read Tiger Beat. So anyway,
Oh, honey, that stuff was all over my walls. Andy Gibb, Garrett, Sean Cassidy. You know, we're the same age, girl.
I'm gonna do all over your Ron. Let me tell you.
Meow.
So let's unpack what you were just talking about, Dresden, and some of the success here, just to give our listener, if they're not intimately familiar with Debra's background.
She's a really big freaking deal, people.
She is. So a couple of things. One is I love the fact, and I'm sorry that I'm referring to this particular resource, but I love that Wikipedia makes sure to point out right up front that you are a Canadian stand-up comedian of Italian descent. So it's that somehow was, first of all, as if we didn't know that from DiGiovanni.
Exactly.
Hilarious that is. It's anyway. So the two things I want to point out based on what my cursory research here is
His deep Wikipedia dive.
I love so much that your career began, as you know, Debra, with taking the inaugural year of comedy writing and performance course at Humber College, and then you went from deciding, hey, I'll take this course, to being a sought-after headliner and a very accomplished voice performer. But three huge, and I don't want to limit you just to these particular accomplishments, but three big accomplishments really stand out to me. One is you made it all the way to 8th place on the 5th season of Last Comic Standing, which means you were top 10. And once you're in the top 10, the slightest a fly can come in the room and move you from 9th to 8th or 8th to 9th or whatever. You know what I mean? And so congratulations on this. So it was that. Another huge one is, I assume this was huge, is in 2018 you performed on Conan, which is certainly a big deal to hit that milestone. It's like getting a real speaking part on Law and Order for an actor, except there's way fewer speaking parts for comedians on Conan. So, and then last year. And congratulations for this. Your comedy album, Lady Jazz, got a Junior Award nomination for Comedy Album of the Year at the Juno Awards, which is a big deal.
Which is like a Grammy, which is like a Canadian Grammy.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I want to know is, out of those three things, because they happened at different points in your career, what to you stands out as the biggest deal out of the three of those? Being on Conan, getting a Juno nomination for Comedy Album of the Year, or being on at least what at the time was one of the biggest things in comedy, which was Last Comic Standing and making it to the top 10. Which of those was the biggest deal for you?
See, that's okay. Another good question. I would say, like, personally, Conan is sort of like, for all comedians, like getting a late night spot is sort of like the holy grail. Do you know what I mean? That's like one of the things you're going for. So you get it. You're just like, there we go. Ugh, got it. So great. But honestly, the honest answer for that is it has to be Last Comic Standing, because that was such a, you're right. At the time, it was a very big show, and it was, I think the second last year that they did like international performers, because they had Brits with us and there was Canadian, and then they closed it after that. So I just kind of snuck under. And it was also like as my mother called it, it was on NBC. And as my mother said, she's like, it's a real television station. Like, that's my mother. You know what I mean? She's like, it's a real network that we've heard of. And it's like,
one of the three networks.
Right? It was the big one. And it was really like, I loved doing it. It was fun, but it was also, I think it had the most lasting effect. And I'm still, to this day, shocked by how many people still bring it up. I mean, I did that in 2007. Like, it was 2007, 2008 that was happening, that season. And it's so 13 years and it still holds weight. And like that kind of credit is just like, you think, okay, you probably might get a couple years of buzz and that's great. But it's still a credit that people still refer to. And, I'll be somewhere, they'll be like, and they'll be like, oh, I loved you on that show. And it's like, oh, okay. Like I didn't realize the shelf life it has. You know what I mean? Like, it really does.
Stand-up.
It did.
Yeah, it brought stand-up into the mainstream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they tweaked the show since, and now there's competition shows of stand-up because of that show. And but it's really like I'm really, delighted to see how long the credit really had like a lot of heat on it. And it's still on the top credits, and it still gets something. It's not like,
Yeah, it's like those of you. I mean, I could list everybody that I've gone to see their show live because they were on that program, and you're like the royalty, the stand-up royalty. I mean, the show really had that much power, and you earned it, man. I love reading comments that people have written on some of your videos. This person, she won me. This is on a YouTube video of yours. She won me over within the first 30 seconds. Seriously, she could dictate my grocery list and be freaking hysterical.
Oh, that's fun. That's nice.
And this one's a big compliment. She's very funny. She reminds me of a female Robin Williams.
Oh my!
And you could take it any way you want. And then they did the R.I.P. with the heart.
Okay,
I assume that was about Robin Williams.
Yeah, I hope so. Dear
right?
God,
and then
unless I don't know something.
And then this one I agree with, but I didn't write it. I just want to spend the night at her house and eat snacks and talk about everything.
That's fun.
So, all right.
I'm
so
good at a
from
slumber
Robin
party.
Williams,
I'm great at as a slumber party.
Right? Woo!
Yeah.
So hey, that should be the name of your next comedy show.
Yeah.
Slumber Party with Deborah.
I'm writing that down.
I like it.
I'm writing that down. Yeah.
With with snacks. But for somebody to say, they also said you should do Disney voices, but that's lucrative, right? So hey, yeah. Anyways, but so from Robin Williams to I just want to hang with her. And she could read me the phone book. I mean, how many comedians get that kind of praise in one feed on one YouTube video?
That's
freaking amazing.
That's pretty amazing.
So It's great. I mean, do you take the time? I mean, I've with different celebrities I've worked with, they tell me that it hurts them when people say negative things. So sometimes they stop reading.
That's exactly it too. Like I years ago stopped reading the comments because it's you get a lot of good and it's so lovely, but like just some of the as we know,
trolls,
people that
trolls.
the trolls that write things, it's like who cares? They're in their parents' basement. Who cares?
Yeah.
But it's just like they just get you. Do you know what I mean? They just get you.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's the one thing. So you can have 20 lovely things and one bad thing, and it's just it just sticks in your It just gets you.
Right.
So
and you can't help it. You're human.
You can't help it. You're
feeling.
human. And it's you're still a human being and it still hurts. And so like I made the decision a while ago that it was like, I'm just going to stay away from the comments altogether because I'm not strong enough.
I'll just collect them for you.
I was going to say just the nice one, because like I'm not strong enough to go, I'm just going to read the nice one. You can't. Like they sneak in there. So like that's exactly. So if something comes up, then it'll be like, friends will be like this one and they'll tell me nice ones. Like, okay, that's nice. Thank you very much. But yeah, it's and I think that's something that performers really have to do for themselves is just do not read the comments. It's just unnecessary. You're just breaking yourself down. It means nothing. And so I don't anymore. But I like those though. Thank you very much for those. Those are nice.
Yeah,
that's very nice.
It just and that literally was the same feed on the same video.
Yeah.
It just goes to show how you touch people. So be proud.
How differently too. Thank you. That's nice.
We need laughter right now.
Oh,
so I just wrote down a couple of things from some of your bits that I love, but obviously I just, obviously when people listen, we want them to laugh a little. Mother Teresa rolled her eyes.
Oh, God.
That just struck me as so funny, but now I can't remember the setup of the joke.
The joke of that is that my whole thing is I hate people that don't hate people. Like that is my least favorite people. When you're your friends and like, I love everyone. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Are you slow? Grow up and hate someone. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the whole, I'm like, I don't care who you are. I promise you at some point, even Mother Teresa rolled her eyes. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no way. she's out there, she's hot, and someone's like, I'm hungry, like, shut up. You know, like there was at some point, don't kid yourself. I know she's a saint, but at some point,
I might have written this one. I might have written this one wrong. Put the 45 man with an earring down. What? I must have written that wrong. Something about a 45-year-old man with an earring? Anyway, we'll move on to frosting on KFC chicken skin.
Okay, this came from this. You know when you go to your doctor and your doctor says to you, like, you know, they take your weight and then they start telling you their diet suggestions, but then they do something like weird, like they'll give you like, they'll try to make it positive. Like, you know what you should do? You should live your life like it's your last day on earth. And to me, that is the worst thing you can say to a big woman. Are you kidding me? Because if it's my last day on earth, why do I care what I'm eating tonight? If I'm dying tomorrow, tonight is KFC skin with icing. That's what it is all night long. Nobody eats the chicken. I'm going to throw the chicken away. If I'm dying tomorrow, I'm not having an apple.
I love you.
My goodness.
I love you. And then this one stands on its own. My tears have more water pressure than California.
That's just true. That's just science.
And then, Mark, I wrote this down, and this goes back to you shouldn't have made her do Schwarzenegger. You have no capacity for a foreign accent.
I don't. My brain turns off. This is me doing British. This is me doing British. That's it. That's all I got. My brain goes off. So I don't know what the Schwarzenegger is going to sound like when I listen to it back, but it's not going to sound.
Oh, it was better than you think, I think. But yeah, that's maybe you. And the greatest thing, that'll be your bellwether, like that'll be your marker for like all time. You'll say, you know what, that was the best I ever watched right at that moment. Debra, let me ask you, just since all kidding aside, you made reference to size and so forth, and I mean this with such delicacy and respect, but you do in your comedy reference your size, or you know, as you just did and so forth. How much of that is just a realization that is what people are experiencing, and you want to address that and just make it sort of get it out of the way and say, hey, I'm cool with it. It's whatever. Or does it become is it a piece of material that's almost like a chicken and egg sort of situation?
Yeah. What comes first?
We're almost like, and I'm not saying this is reality, but like you would almost not want to lose the weight because you would lose too much material. Do you know what I'm saying?
I totally do. I totally do. Okay, and I would say it's on both of those statements. Number one, there is sort of the unwritten rule in comedy that it's like you acknowledge what the people are looking at. Do you know what I mean? So it's like if a man was to get on stage and he's, 4'10", the first thing he's going to say is something like, because it's almost like you're saying to them, I know, let's all relax now and have some fun. Do you know what I mean? And it's not, and I mean, yes, you don't have to do it for everything. I mean, obviously, like a beautiful blonde woman doesn't have to come on stage and go, I'm a beautiful blonde woman, but she sort of does. I'm
going to start my act with that from now on.
Would you please? $5 for every time you do that. But listen, but it's true though, but there still is, there honestly is, it's like, Canadian. So $2.75 USD. But there still is though. There still is that even if like a blonde bombshell gets on stage, trust me, in her first 2 minutes, she's going to do a joke about how she looks, because there is that sort of thing like where you have to like get on the same page as the crowd and be like, hey, I know where we are. I know you don't have to like turn to your friends or wonder in your head. And I mean, again, it's like, it's sort of strange that we do have to do that, but you just do. And it makes it easier, especially for something like weight, for something that's not as, I guess I want to say societally acceptable. So it is. So it's kind of like, I'm telling the crowd, I know who I am. I know what I look like. And I'm up on stage having the time of my life. So let's all relax and have some fun.
Deborah, so I do. Yeah, I do sketch. So I'm starting to get into stand up, and I just have like 2 jokes at the top because I'm a big girl too.
Yeah,
yes, to get it out of the way.
And you know what? To be honest, it's like I think as I've gone on in my career, I think I have less sort of like really like fat centered jokes, and now like if someone, and people have said in comments and in interviews and whatever, people have been like, but you're making your whole set about being a fat woman. And the thing is, it's not. It's that I'm a fat woman doing a set. So my jokes come from the world that I live in. So I live my life in this body. So therefore, everything that I experience is being experienced by a fat woman. It's the same thing as being experienced by a man who's 6'10", by whatever it is, you know what I mean? It's like a big nose, short, whatever it is. It's like where someone gets on stage and does, and a redhead. I mean, anything that's how they experience life. And so that's how I experience life. So
and
there is a
funny
little bit to me.
Funny.
And funny is funny. Funny is funny. I mean, honest to gosh, like I'm like, if it made you laugh, who cares what the root of it is? But there is a little bit,
right.
in the
like
world.
Who can't laugh at the frosting on chicken skin on your last day
and
on the
you've all
surf?
fought it, and you've all fought it, so shut up. But it's, but there is a little thing too, like with the world, like there is fat phobia, and people sort of want to attack on, because they're trying to be, make us healthy and for our own good kind of thing. But there is still, I do get a lot of like, you shouldn't have to do that. But it's funny because they would never go to, an Asian man, a tall woman, a guy that's, I'm bad in bed. Like you'd never be like, why do you talk about that? It just still seems to, you get, you know what I mean? You get like your thing and they allow it. But there's something about a big person that people still, especially a big woman, that they're like, oh, is that all you're going to talk about? It's like, no, that's actually not all I talk about. It's just
you definitely don't
from.
only talk about that.
No, I talk about all sorts of things. But
I love your variety. The variety of your comedy is
it's true. And it's like, so it always makes me kind of a little like whenever someone says to me, oh, all your jokes, about that. I'm like, you haven't watched enough. You haven't watched any of my material. You watched 2 jokes and you turned it off is what you did, and that's a shame for them.
Yeah, because if you kept listening, you would have cried and said I was the female Robin Williams. Yeah.
Exactly. And I will not come to your sleepover.
Sleepover with Debra. Snacks. Read me the phone book.
But that, Mark, that's a great question, and it's something I'm, thrilled to answer because it's it's real, and I think a lot of us, I mean, we all get into comedy. Let's be honest, we all get into comedy as a bit of a defense mechanism. You know what I mean? Like it just is. They're just, I mean, a little bit. We all get funny for survival. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we all got something.
What would you say? And I don't mean this like some sort of clever question. I'm really asking you, who do you think does not find you funny? Like you may have found pockets of types of audiences that just
she's ready. She's ready to answer.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah, you know what? And here's the thing. There is I think all comedians, we want to make everyone laugh. In our hearts, we want to make everyone laugh. And somewhere around year 9, 10, 11, you start realizing, I'm not going to make everyone laugh. And then it becomes way easier. Then you are able to relax and enjoy yourself a little bit more. I'm not. Not everyone is going to like me, and it's totally okay because plenty of people like me, right? The people that do not like me, the people that I'm going to struggle with the most, men that wear baseball caps all the time, that you know know what I mean? Like there's a group of men that are not interested, and these are like men that are not woke, men that are not men that have they think a woman should stay in the kitchen and be seen and not heard. Those men are not going to be interested in me at all. They will not listen to me. They're
not
going to
be. Sadly, they're not going to be interested in any female comedian.
They're not. The chances are they're not. Yeah, they're honestly, those men are, you're right. They're only going to want to watch white men. Yeah. But there is, but then they will watch the Eliza Schlesingers and like the hot girls. They'll watch the hot girls, but they'll still have their arms crossed. Do you know what I mean? And then at the end of the show, they'll be like, "You're okay," that kind of thing. So yeah. But that's the one.
Eating their
and
wings.
There's also too. It's like right. There's that sort of like little pocket that I'm just like whenever I walk in and it's that kind of crowd. I go, it's gonna be a dog fight tonight. That kind of thing. So,
dog fight.
Yeah. This is maybe a really hard question to answer, but I'm still gonna take the courage to ask it. What?
Debra, I'm gonna hold you and rock you after this question.
That's right. No, it's not a hard one. Do you have a sense of when you know something is funny? Like when you think of it and you go, because I mean, we just know when something's funny. It's not like we can define it, but you must have gotten over the years a sense when you think of a joke, you go, this is going to kill, because because I just know when I do something like this, it works because of who I am or how I deliver or how people think of me. So this just naturally, when it occurred to you, or you could even write something and say, I need something to fill this spot. I know when I write something like this, generally it will do its job. Yeah. So what have you learned about your own comedy?
Yeah, there are like little brackets, right? Like there's definitely things that come to you, and sometimes it's just like the ones that I go, oh, it's gonna murder, when it comes like really easily, like when it just drops into your head, drops, just comes out, you're writing and it just lands. The wording lands perfectly, and it's, those are the ones that you go, amazing, and then there are ones that you work out on stage, or there's a kernel there and you build it, and they sort of become your favorite ones because you had to work for them. You know what I mean? But there are the ones that you go, oh, I know this is the one. And the ones that I know are always going to work are like the ones that have they have that sort of like that bit of that twist, that bit of a surprise, that they think you're going to say one thing, but you say the other thing, and that kind of stuff. There is sort of like a formula to go, that's always going to kill. But like, and to get it like even more personal, like things that I write down, everything that makes my best friend laugh. Anything that I'm talking to that makes, if I'm telling her a story or I'm saying something, if my best friend laughs, I'm like, give me a second. And I just write that down because she's
nice.
My 20, we've been best friends for 26 years. And you know what I mean? She's honed and she's the one that I'm like, if she likes it, it's probably going to make it into the act. So yeah.
What's your friend's name, Debra?
Robin.
If you don't mind.
My best friend.
Robin?
Yeah.
Robin. Shout out to Robin. Shout out to Robin.
Hey, Debra, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Just very much for my own personal use. Janine Garofalo started this years ago by bringing notes on stage.
Yes.
And I, since I want to start comedy, do stand up a little more than sketch in the future.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever hurt your act at all if I've seen that you've had notes. What are your thoughts on that?
I see it. You know what? It's so funny because it's so divided. Like I started bringing my notebook on stage when I moved to LA because I was like, I'm doing all new material. So like I left everything that I did in Canada behind. It was like, I'm doing all new jokes and it's just, I don't have a good memory. So it was literally like I want to remember these jokes. And then I started.
And it made you more comfortable, right?
And it does because I'd rather remember what I'm saying. And then like my books are like this big. Do you mean like they're little notebooks? And then I started sort of like, it started becoming, a little bit of a prop that I would, sort of like bounce around like a maestro, and then referring to it, having jokes about the notebook, and then it just sort of started happening. But it's like I still only do that when I'm doing short sets and when I'm working out jokes at rooms that I'm uncomfortable in. I don't do that when I headline. Like I don't, or if I do, it's very like it's beside me, and I take a sip of water, and I glance at my notebook or whatever. But like for long sets, I really don't. But like short stuff, I like it. Like 10-minute set, I like it. It feels natural to me. I don't think anyone's looking, going and saying, what is she doing? It feels okay. But like when I'm standing, if I was to do, a headline set and I'm referring to my notes, then I feel like I'm making the crowd not feel safe. Does she know what she's doing? That kind of thing.
Huh.
Now comics are divided on this though. Comics are super divided. There are tons of comics that, say to me, oh my God, I love that. I think it's so funny. And then other comments are like, why do you bring a notebook on stage? What are you doing? Like so it's a 50-50 split. 50-50 split.
Thank you for that.
But I always look at the notebook too, as well as this though. If you're making them laugh, who cares? Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm standing on stage and I'm flapping, if you've been laughing, I really don't care. I don't care if you've got a chalkboard.
I don't care what's
stage.
flapping up there.
You know what I mean? I don't care. Exactly. I don't care. Yeah. So
cool. Thank you.
Debra, the magic TV fairy waves their wand, and you get that coveted opportunity of a sitcom. Number one, do you want it? Number two, if you got to choose your co-star, who would they be?
Oh, God. Oh, that's a hard one. I would definitely want it, but I would want to be a part of an ensemble. Like that would be the thing. Like I used to always want to be a star, and I don't think I want to now. I think I'd want to be, like a Broad City, or like a Broad City like Duke combo, two of us kind of thing. I'd love that. I mean, who do I want it? Oh God, that's like asking like what's your favorite song? I don't even know at this point. There's so many like people just in my community that I'd love. Like Rory Scovel, Beth Stelling. I mean, if we're really going to get crazy, you know, you want like Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I mean, who else? Jane Lynch. Who else can we get in there? You know, like there's a lot, but like
it's like you look at a giant like Judy Gold. Yeah. But honestly, I think you and Judy Gold would be too much of the same thing in a way. Like you would, you actually wouldn't work together. It wouldn't work.
If we were like sisters, I would have to one of us, one of us would have a much smaller role. Do you know what I mean? Like it would have to be
exactly,
kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah. Too much frenetic energy, kind of thing.
Right.
Someone like a Beth Stelling, who's way more laid back. That would be, a very sort of fun.
But Julia Louis-Dreyfus was a really wonderful example because she's freaking hilarious, but she kind of plays it straight a lot of the time, which is
does. And you know the beautiful thing about her is that every show that she's been on, she's such a different character. Do you know like where sometimes like someone is that character, they're that character for the rest of your life, and you can't see past it.
Yeah.
I mean,
know.
It's just. No, it's just so that's why I think just because she could.
Yeah, she deserves all the success she's had.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what's funny too? If you look at her back on her brief time on Saturday Night Live, I mean, she did fine, but if you really look at her, she's a pale version of herself on that show.
Not even close. In terms of what her capability is,
kind of interesting. As we close out here, I just have a couple from mine, and not to shut anyone else down. I always love to know, as you look back over the years, is there a joke that you were just absolutely positive was going to slay? Just like you're like, this is it. This is the one I'm going to be remembered for. Maybe I'm exaggerating here, but I'm saying this is huge, and it just. You've never gotten it to work, and you just can't figure out why. And then maybe conversely, is there a joke that was like a throwaway, and you like brought the house down that you remember?
Yeah, we all have those. You just do. And there are jokes still that like we don't let go because we like them so much, and they never work. They never work. Like I'm just honestly, there's really ones that you just go, that one's just for me, that people don't laugh. I think it's hysterical. Like right now, like one that it just doesn't work. I don't care. I do it over and over again. It makes me laugh so much. And my joke is because right now I'm cat sitting. I'm babysitting a cat. And, I say, but, this is, I don't know this cat very well. And, before COVID, I perform every night. I'm out of the house every night, and I worry about the cat. I don't know this cat. Is he scared without me? What's he doing at home? And then on like usually about day 5 of our time together, I start thinking to myself, what if the cat is also doing comedy at home? Do you know what I mean? What if when I leave the house, the cat's all, what's the deal with all the crying? And no one ever laughs at that. And it makes me, because I'm doing Seinfeld and what's the deal?
I have heard you do that joke a lot.
It's my favorite joke. It's one of my favorite jokes. It makes me laugh. And I wrote that joke years ago. And then I tried, no one liked it. I brought it back and I was like, I'm still doing it. And still no one likes it. I don't care.
I particularly love that, Deborah, because not only is that a great freaking joke, but Elsie's cat, None of Your Business, plays saxophone in a jazz band. True story.
Yeah. I'm not even remotely surprised. Yeah. But then like I usually at the end of that joke too go and say that one's just for me. And then these are all just for me because it is. And it is. And most all comics do that too. They'll be like, that one. I think every comic in their long set has at least one joke that never works and you don't care and you just stick it in because it's like, you got to have ones for you, do you know? And then there are definitely jokes that, maybe you've outgrown them or you just don't want to do it anymore. And they're the ones that like, if you don't do it, people come up and go, why didn't you do that one? And it's just like, okay, it's like in a band. Do you know what I mean? Like if you don't do the number one hit, they're mad. You know what I mean? It's like, God, I used to hear that Joni Mitchell would just be like, I'm not doing Both Sides now. I'm not doing it. I won't do it again. And there are ones like that. And it's not because you hate the joke. It's just because you're like, man, let me move on from that. And, and people want it. So you still do it and you still love it. But it's like, you'd rather do that.
But you know what? You're still, when you hit the intelligent part of the audience that makes them go, or a grin versus a guffaw, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think I'm sure people still enjoyed the line.
Yeah. Comics are always playing to the back of the room, though, too. Most comics are playing to the back of the room. We're always playing for the other comics. We really want the comics to laugh. We want the crowd to laugh. But if you can make your peers laugh, you're like, that's really all that matters. That's really all we're ever doing. We're really just trying to make each other laugh.
All right, my final question from me anyway is, what in your life? I know it's going to sound super deep, but maybe we'll have something interesting. What's something in your life that, let's say, you've put down that I don't mean like a pat, but I mean like what's something you put down that maybe someday you would like to pick that back up?
Oh God. Oh wow.
What's his name?
I went to art school. I wanted to be an artist. And I always think I wouldn't mind doing that again at some point in my life, like as off time, you know what I mean? Like where start painting again at some point. I would. It's just one, and that's just like a non-funny answer, but it's true, because I loved it so much. And it's so, it was such a big part of my life for so long. And then, then I turned to comedy, and it was sort of like, art just got set aside and never picked it up again. And now, oh my God, it's been decades since I've painted anything. And I think just, one day it's like when you have the time and you're the hustle, you can slow down on the hustle and, successful enough that you have your painting room, or whatever successful people have, rich people. But like, I think something like that I would do again, just, just for me, just because I like it so much. So. Yeah,
I love that so much, and Debra, I know we don't know each other deeply well, but I would like to personally.
She just did a fabulous hair flip when you said that. It was perfect.
It was very perfect.
You wish you did, sir. Boom.
You're a hat. Was that just for me? I would like to challenge you, Debra. It's November 4th as we record this, and my challenge to you is by December 31st. All you have to do is buy a paintbrush.
Oh my God.
One source of paint. It can be just one little tube of paint or whatever you want to do. And
they have them at the dollar store.
One small canvas that can be any size. You don't even have to paint yet.
Okay.
You've just gone and bought them by the end of the calendar year. So you put them somewhere in your home where it stares at, up on the kitchen counter, somewhere where it doesn't go in a drawer where you have to look at it. And let's see what that does to you, and at what point you say, I am now going to do something with that. So that's the challenge.
I love that. I totally accept that challenge. Done.
Yay. Will you send us a picture of it when you buy it?
I promise.
Please. Thank you. That's really, I love that. Great.
It really would be, a cool thing, like in the hotel during the day when you're not performing.
What I mean? Just, something to do. My goodness.
Quarantine.
More quarantine, I was going to say.
You could also leave it behind when you catch it and say, see if you come back and anything.
I was going to say, secret. Yeah.
So anyway,
doing comedy or painting, but those were both for me.
As if someone couldn't simply go, Debra DiGiovanni, let me just Google how could someone find you and the things that you're doing and seek you out, and how can the producer for the next big sitcom reach out?
Probably the best thing is right now it's probably Instagram, which is Debra DG on Instagram, and I still tweet a lot, and that's my full name, so it's Debra DiGiovanni on Twitter and Instagram, and because now everything's got DMs and stuff. Those are the best places to find me. That's it. I'm not on Facebook very much, I barely have a website anymore, because it's like, it feels like people just don't do that anymore. Now it's kind of like they hit you up on Messenger or they slide into your DMs on Instagram. So, but those are my favorite hangouts.
Do you do a podcast, or are you a part of a podcast yourself?
I do. I was going to say, me and my best friend Zach have a podcast called Killing Time with Debra and Zach, and it comes out on Wednesdays, iTunes or Spotify or wherever you want to find. And it's just a little short. We just do a 30-minute, just shooting the breeze between two friends.
That's amazing. How's it doing?
It's fun.
I don't know.
Is it on a network or anything?
No, it's not. I know we've never really shopped it or anything, but we should. But no, it honestly was just something because the two of us, we were on tour and we started it and it was fun. And now it's just a lot of fun. And we have our little fans. So it's like, it's just, just another platform. So
Hair flip.
Hair flip. I was flipping my hair, but I don't really have none. So, anyway,
Deborah, I'm very jealous. Your hair looks so gorgeous tonight.
It is luscious today, I'll tell you.
It is luscious. It's luscious.
Thank you. Thank you.
She didn't have the opportunity for the same luscious hair in her dungeon, right? So,
No.
right?
I had to let it all hang out.
Anyway, as Will Ferrell would say on Saturday Night Live, you have been a delight. You are just lovely. We love you so much. One of our favorite ever.
Finally got together. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Debra DiGiovanni. We love you, and you are awesome. You are so naturally funny. I love that. I love that so much. You're so full of love.
I'm going to come over for snacks.
Yes, I will get the snacks ready. I'm excited.
Oh, my God.
Love you, Deborah.
All right. Thank you, Deborah. We love you. Debra DiGiovanni, everybody. All right. That is, go follow Deborah and laugh like we did. And that is it for this truly memorable, truly historic episode of Funny People Talking. I am so happy you are all with us for this one. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you next week. Until then, for Dresden Engel.
Oh, thanks for laughing with us. Everyone, keep laughing.
And Elsie.
Thanks so much.
All right. This is Mark Rako saying thanks. And by the way, just a reminder, everybody, stay safe and stay funny.
That's it? That's the end of the show? Boy, oh boy, what a crock. This was Funny People Talking. No portion of the content may be reproduced or published without the strict written permission of the producers. Connect with our show at
Funny People Talking.
or at our website, funnypeopletalking.com. I'm your announcer, Peter Coleman. Thanks for listening.
This is Mouth Media Network, the business of being heard.